Oh yeah, yeah. Part two of me being a hooker, Humanitarian Chronicles, my new thing I'm doing right now. Yeah. So I mentioned about the book, my second published book, Broken Souls Chronicles of a Humanitarian Health Worker, and let me say these are going to be my therapy sessions. Yeah, it may not benefit many people, may not benefit any people, but usually, as I say, if you can help one person in this life, you've helped a multitude. So I'm helping one person. I'm the multitude. Yeah. So yeah, I began talking about how I became hawker, then I diverted into Afia House, Mafia House, where we had a lot of struggles as doctors, where I think people still have a lot of struggles because I don't think government offices change much for the better. Maybe they do, but most of the time they change for the worse. So yeah. Um, Afia House. I remember after I passed my pre-internship exam. I think I mentioned this in an interview, in some interviews. I mentioned this maybe in another live, not in a live, maybe in a live recently, but in one of my previous posts. So when you've done your medicine in another country, when you come back to Kenya, I think most countries, if not all, you're expected to do a pre-internship, sit for a pre-internship examination, which is basically an exam to confirm your qualifications. You have your papers, but to confirm that you're able to like fit into the system here, or if you need to study a bit more or get ready to fit in, you get to know that from that exam. So when I sat the exam and I got to know I wasn't ready because I did my medicine in Russia for 8 years. So I was there for 8 years, and when I came back, I didn't realize that a language can actually leave the WhatsApp group, and you're left alone without that language. So English had left the group. Most of English had left the group. So I would speak, but I didn't know it's actually possible to speak and not understand what you're reading at some point or what you're being asked, because I hadn't realized that for the 8 years I was in Russia, I got to a point where I was now translating stuff from English or Kiswahili or my mother tongue into Russian for me to understand it, and then I had to translate it back into whichever language I need to speak it out in. And yeah, so I failed miserably in the exam because I sat it about 2 3 weeks after I came back home. And then I was like, no way. I remembered, wait a minute, actually, I never liked medicine so much. So I decided to quit. I quit, and I'll mention that in another story, in another post or a live, whichever the case may be. But I've talked about it. I quit medicine basically for 2 years, went back into my original love, acting, uh, national theater, da da da. Anyway, today is about my hawking days. So how did I become a hawker? So next to Afi House, as you are now going from Afi House, walking down through where Uhuru Park there were a set of stairs, and as you would walk down towards Uhuru Park, along the stairs on the left, specifically on the left when you're going downstairs, there was this group of people who were selling neckties. There were hawkers there, but most of them were selling neckties. So I would pass by there and hear them say 20, 20, bao, bao, 20, kumi, 50, 20, kumi, 50, bao, 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 taya, shingo, bao, bao. I don't know whether it was taya, shingo, but it was, yeah. So the neckties were being, and they were quite nice. I'd been buying neckties for my one and a half, 1 2 suits that I had inherited from my late father. Um, and I would buy them even from hawkers, like in the middle of the central business district, the CBD. Can't say central business district. That one, yeah, in the CBD. I would go to a hawker in the CBD and I'd buy a necktie for 100 bob. It wasn't so expensive, but then these guys were selling the same neckties or even better looking ones for 10 shillings, 15 shillings, 20 shillings maximum, depending on which one you selected. Those are days when you have a necktie that was called bulletproof, the big one. You strangle yourself here, strangle yourself, and then you have this big thing that would cover your whole chest, and then we had the very thin ones, and then there was silk and whatever design and whatever colors and whatever kind of material and stuff like that. So I was like, yo, 20 bob. So I passed going down and I'm like 20 20, okay, and this one 15 and this one 10, depending on how old it looked or whatever, or out of fashion. But some were quite fashionable, quite fashionable. So I thought to myself, because I had to go to Affair House a number of times. This was after now I had passed my pre-internship exam and I was waiting to be given my letter of what is it called? Induction, my calling letter, so to speak, to internship, to an internship station, to be allocated an internship station. This time we didn't know, and it took about 3 4 months, I think, up to 5 months before we got the letter after the exam. So I had nothing to do. I had already gone into acting, which I'll talk about in another post. I already started acting at the National Theatre, but it was broke. I was broke. Not theatre. I was broke. I was broke. Most actors at the National Theatre were very broke. Are very broke. I think even now, maybe things have changed. It's not a government institution, as I said in other posts or in this post, whichever post. It's not a government institution that always, in most cases, gets worse and worse with time. National Theatre, I think things have changed by now. I need to just pop in one day and have a look as an alumni, whatever. Yeah. Um, so went up and down the steps. Going, and they tell you, wait, come back tomorrow. Whoever is supposed to look at your letter, is supposed to allocate you, whoever is supposed to do ABCD about internship is not around, is around, but is busy. He's here, but hasn't found your file, or hasn't found this, and that. Whatever it is you're doing, I have no idea. But anyway, eventually it happened, and it took about 4 5 months before. So I was really struggling to pay rent, struggling to buy food, struggling, and I was still acting. So sometimes I'd go and spend the whole day either waiting to be, selected for a particular drama team. We were in a particular drama group by that time already, and Balamwezi players. Sometimes there are no plays, there are no gigs, so you just go to National Theatre hoping that maybe there's a gig that the director found, and you guys can start rehearsing. Rehearsal days, you'd rehearse for a number of like days or weeks, and then you pay maybe like 100 bob, 200 bob, which was just barely enough to cater for your fare. Fare was like 20 shillings from down to Dhiru. Then I would walk down the road to Gadondeke. For those who know that road, past Isipe, going down towards Kawangware, there's a place called Gadondeke or Container. That's where we used to live. So all this up and down the stairs, going to the CBD and back to Afya House, I discovered the ties. As I told you, I thought to myself, why don't I actually start selling? I mean, 20 bob, and then I start hawking. Even if I sold them at 80 bob, cheaper than the other guys, I still get my cut. I still get my profit. So that's how I began. And I have this blue briefcase. I don't have it. I'll see if I have a photo. And I'll put here for you guys to see. I had this briefcase, small suitcase, blue one, that I had bought in Russia when I was still there doing my medical school, and I decided to use that. And those were the days. That was 2002, 2003. Sorry, when there was still no tight kind of security at buildings where they have to check your bags, and you have to get scanned and screened, and they have to open your bags. So you just walk in and tell, so yeah, I'm going to office, whatever, and they're like, yeah, cool, go. So I put on my father's old suit, my late father's old suit, which was like probably my age or older than me, because he had bought them before I was born, and I'm now going to 51 in 2 days time. I'll be 51. So they probably would have been older than me by now, but they were older than me then anyway. And I put on that suit and one of the ties I'd bought, look very smart in an old suit, which barely fit because my dad was slightly bigger than me at that time, by the time he passed away. So his suits were just like off the shoulder, hanging down and stuff like that. And I'd walk in with my suitcase, and I was like, yeah, I've come to see. So they would see me in this case. I would carry it like a briefcase. I would take off the strap because the neckties were light, and there was a way I would hang them in there. It had compartments, so they looked very neatly hung, and no one would check the bag. So I would just walk in with my bag and suitcase, briefcase, looked very like official. Walking around, I'm like, excuse me, sir, how are you doing? My name is Dr. So-and-so. However, I'm not yet in the medical field actively at the moment, but I would like to interest you in some neckties. You look like you look good. And I'd open my suitcase and you see neckties hanging and neckties lying there and all kinds of whatever, and open and sell for them at what, 80, 90 bob. And don't make my money. And later I graduated to selling cutlery also, in the same knives, forks, spoons, in the same suitcase. So I'd put the ties on top, put the spoons and knives and forks. I would go buy sets in Thika and come back, the knife sets or cutlery sets, and put them on, and I would sell. And it wasn't such good money, but I would have my rent. Once in a while, I would be able to get my money. I had my bus fares. Whenever I was going for a gig or for rehearsal at National Theatre, I would have my bus fare and have my rent and food at the end of the day from this hawking. So I actually hawked for about 1 year. It was about a year just before I got my internship. I began actually doing that before the exams because I had to go and get my whatever what is it